Good morning. We'd love to have the pilgrims back. I think of all those moments giving tours here, helping people to understand the great gift of the Holy Land for people. And I want to do one little piece that I always do here among the olive trees for the pilgrims with you this morning. So this piece happens when there's a little time, because it's extra time. That means I know the group is not in a rush. The guide doesn't have to make it to another site immediately before it closes. And we can have a few extra reflections about stuff. It usually happens up here at the end of the Benefactors Avenue. And I just see, we probably won't have a sunrise this morning, so you can be the sunrise in your family, but we do have the moon not yet set right there over Mount Arbel. The waning full moon of the Passover. Also for the Orthodox Christians here in the Holy Land, it's Palm Sunday today. We don't need to go into all that cycle of explanations, but the Easter of the Passover of the Jewish people was last Monday evening, as we commented already. And their Passover celebrations will finish then tomorrow, by tomorrow. So I usually explain up here something very special, and I start with a question. So are you ready for a question? The question was, or is, have you ever thought about Jesus' IQ? Have you ever thought about Jesus' IQ? I love doing this explanation up here at the next set of olive trees after these ones here, because a year ago, well, about 15 months ago, by oversight, this olive tree here was not pruned, whereas this one was heavily pruned like all the others. And I would ask them to see the difference. Well, you can still see it basically. Here you have an unpruned tree, and this one was very pruned. And if you want to see where the branches were cut, here and here, not all in the same year, right? At different times, different ones were cut, small ones and bigger ones. And they create a lot of space inside so the light can come in, because they need light in the center. And I ask people, well, does that remind you of any story in the Gospels? And obviously, eventually somebody will say the pruning. Well, what's the story? Well, Jesus explains that he is the vine and we are the branches. And the gardener comes and prunes some branches. He cuts off all the dead ones. They're the first to go. That leaves things a little clearer. And then he prunes the good ones. It's interesting that it's the good ones that get pruned. The dead ones are cut off. So the healthy plants are pruned. You can see all the pruning that happened here over the years. Major pruning. And what's Jesus doing with this image? Well, so that the tree bears greater fruit. What's happening? What's pruning? Pruning is losing a branch, and obviously that hurts the tree. It has to heal that exposure. Different trees heal breakage like that in different ways. Sometimes bark grows over the wounded part, the cut part. Because it has to obviously be sealed against water getting in there, and I'm not sure all the biology involved. And Jesus says we have to be pruned. When are we pruned? When is something cut off that hurts? Probably one of the biggest prunings is bereavement. Because there's that relationship there. These birds are so annoyed that I'm walking here. Or what about a cancelled flight? You can see here where these two branches were pruned off and how the wounds, the cut places being overgrown a little bit by some bark. And here you can see all the new olives coming. Look at all the rich new olives coming here. All the little ones. What other kind of pruning could happen in your life? Well, illness, and your plans are changed, your dreams are changed. Maybe even you have to interrupt work for a while. It's going to be expensive maybe to get treatment. It's going to be difficult. Pruning. Every setback in a way is a pruning of our own desires and plans. So have you ever thought about setbacks as pruning for bearing more fruit? Because we have a very materialistic idea probably of our lives. And we want a lot of good things. We want to solve all the physical problems we have. We pray. Kids pray for a good exam. And that's all good. It's good to pray for a good exam. But to overcome failure as well is an extraordinary growth in life. To continue being kind in the family even when we're very sick. Being patient. How can we become patient? Well, when there's some problem people around or problem situations. And so the difficulty of the person that's around or the situation I have to endure makes it more difficult for me to be good. Because I'm under stress, I'm under burden. Let's say I've got a headache and I need to teach a class to the children. Or there's some relatives coming and I'm not feeling well. I don't have to be fake about everything is okay, but the way I carry the burden. That's patience. And so with the presence of the burden, I'm being pruned to bear more fruit. Here we see a tree that doesn't look very beautiful. It's all leafless, the new leaves are coming. But then we see all the fruit. Actually, these pods are opening here. You see a pod that's open up here. I'll put up the camera close, up to the top. Maybe we can get some that's open that's lower down. Yeah, there we are. And you can see the little seeds inside. This is laden with fruit, this tree. So with this one image that's so simple, who can't understand pruning? Well, you don't have to go to Harvard to get it if you're raised on a farm. It's just very, very, watch your dad when you're 4 or 5 years old and you get it. And Jesus speaking to people that did a lot of pruning in their trees. He's really explaining the ultimate meaning of every single frustration we experience. That with God's grace, it's going to bring extraordinary fruit in our lives. Every single frustration. So maybe you just take out your pen and paper right now, or your little notepad, and you start writing. And just make a list of all the frustrations in your life right now. Or the one major frustration, put them in order. Or maybe in other family members, maybe you're a parent and a spouse, and you notice that there's a bunch of burdens weighing on different people in the family, or also friends, in-laws, neighbors. And just think that you could be somebody that can give a word of encouragement about this. You can be the person that helps them to see what Jesus is explaining here. And maybe it's not just to explain it, oh no, this is a good opportunity for you that you got a heart attack. I'm not sure that that's the language. But the kindness and goodness and help to carry a person in their moment of trial. The sympathy, the condolence, the helpfulness, bringing along a meal, a little present, helping out in the garden because they can't look after the garden. Small little things, a phone call, I'm there, can I bring you something? I'm going to the supermarket now, is there something you need? It's amazing the intelligence of Jesus, the brilliance, the ingenuity, the marvel. Of course, he has divine knowledge as well, but he's also human, completely human, and he learned. And it's not just understanding the deepest purpose and reason of all the frustrations in life. It's also the capacity to express it in such a way that the simplest person can get it. The simplest person can get it. I've commented before a man I knew in Germany, and his son has become a wonderful priest meanwhile, but at that time he was discerning the vocation. That's how I got to know this family. And this man was a recovered alcoholic. And I'm absolutely convinced that his path of difficulty and suffering shaped him. And I'm sure that was a big burden in the family, as long as he was suffering from that alcoholism. But he became a man of extraordinary humanity and patience, of kindness, of goodness, of empathy. And when we look at older people, in general, there may be some bitter ones, and maybe that's something they need to prune about, some frustration they've had, some resentment. But in general, you say older people are a little more peaceful and placid. They've been through it all. They've seen it all, or a lot. And they've learned that you can let some things go. You can be pruned. You don't have to be always right. You don't have to be always imposing your own will. You don't have to be always completely healthy. You can bear some things, and you're not fighting with yourself all the time, and you're not fighting with God all the time, and you're not fighting with the others all the time over this is the place where this has to be put, and you have to do it this way, and you have to say it like this, and you have to understand it like this, and you have to condemn these people, and you have to do all these things. We need to be pruned. It's a wonderful image. And it's so simple, it's so powerful, it's so pedagogical. I'm just fascinated by it. And the backdrop of all of this then is a much more powerful reality that's in the scriptures, and we've probably gone over time already, so we'll let it go. But just to first just mention it. When we're connected with Christ, which is the main teaching of this gospel passage, our life is filled with life. Our life is enriched. And there are many, many texts like this. You remember in the Old Testament where it says, curse the man who trusts in a man. Some people put a lot of trust that this particular politician, this particular business leader is going to save the company. They can do a lot of good things. They can make a lot of decisions. They can bring about a lot of reforms that need to be done. But the life comes from God. Even the life of this little tree here, this little sprout coming out of the trunk. Life comes from God. Curse the man who trusts in a horse. No, our trust is in God. We have to be connected with God. It's not just a physical connection of a branch to the tree. It's the connection of our heart and soul, of our deepest convictions. And this is where we bring much fruit, huge fruit. I would say that all the saints have been extraordinarily united to God, and they didn't start out that way necessarily. And we can all grow in that area. The second reading here gives us some hints, points out to some the commandments. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. If you want to be connected with me, united to me, keep my commandments. If you want to be united to me in prayer, you reconcile with your brother and sister, with your family members, with your children. And maybe there's a physical reconciliation that's still missing that you can't accomplish, you can't force, but you want it. And in that you're totally united with God. You want it. I want it. I desire for it. I pray for it. Lord, give us this reconciliation in our family. Lord, help us to overcome this bitterness, this bad memory. Heal us, Lord. And so you're united, even though you don't have it, you're united with God in desire, in prayer, and in actions and words you speak. And the Lord will bring tons of fruit to the person who's living like that. That person becomes a saint through the difficulties of the family relationships, as that's all part of the pruning. Lots more to say about these things, people. God bless you. Just try it. Let go of some things you're really annoyed over. Let it go. Let God. That's a great expression. Let go, let God. Seek Him, be united to Him. God bless you.